We've got the penultimate speaker, and this is somebody who I absolutely adore, a privilege to call a friend, and beyond all of that, I can genuinely say this will be the best sales advice you will ever receive. Seriously. Seriously. So take notes. Take note. This woman will change your life and your business as she has done mine. So I'd like to introduce a very dear friend, Jessica Lorimer, to the stage. Okay, she's going to shout.
It is due to start.
Oh, well, that's a little bit of pressure. Andy, am I getting my Rocky?
Yeah, it was meant to come. Oh, there we go.
I did one drop.
Next time.
I'll put that in next time. Here it is. So, obviously, lots of pressure there from Jen. Cheers. Very, very excited to be here. And if you have been enjoying the event today, please give Jen a massive, massive hand, because it takes a lot of balls and feeling. The next thing I want you to do, so I want you to do 3 things very quickly, and you need your phone. Smartphone. Everyone has one, I'm assuming, because if you work in the online space, then you have one. Have a bad boy in your back pocket. Okay, you need to go to your camera app. This is all going to be very quick, okay? First thing you're going to do is you're going to take a selfie. Okay, ready? Everyone goes at once. Oh God, my face in the wrong way. Here we go. Look lovely. Smile. Okay, there we go. Now, you can share that on social media later for Jen, because that will be really helpful. Be helpful for her social media campaign, alright? The second thing that you're all going to do, this is potentially most humiliating for me, is you're all going to turn the cameras towards me and take a photo.
I didn't do that. This one.
There we go.
No, not done that yet.
Hang on. Everyone's like taking like 50,000. Yeah. Marilyn Monroe. Got it. Okay. And then the final thing I want everyone to do is just stand up super quick in the middle of the room. Jen at the front, probably Andy as well, because we're tall. And everyone's going to like crouch behind me and Jen. Now we're sort of short, so you might have to crouch a little bit. Okay? Lying down. Alright? I'm going to try and make this work, but people at the back stand up, people at the front crouch. Okay? Ready? Say expert arrival on 3. 1, 2, 3. Expert! Okay. Right.
Very good.
Now, when we get out camera phones and stuff, we kind of forget sometimes the impact of a picture. And there are 2 reasons that I've made you do those things. And as we go through the talk today, I'll tell you why we've done each of them. One of the main reasons there is that when you put on an event, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of cash that goes into it behind, because let's face it, let's be transparent, money is a big driver. And so one of the things that you all need to be doing today is sharing the fact that you have been to the event, that you have seen Jen do her stuff, and that you have hopefully bought a copy of her book, because that's always handy when you're trying to launch one. I'm saying that as somebody who did it last month, and it was really bloody hard. So, Jen's very kindly introduced me as an expert, and I'm going to tell you that there will be people in this room who don't feel like an expert. Who doesn't? Okay? I don't feel like an expert. And I can tell you that I've been in this business for 3.5 years. In fact, I've been in it more than 3.5 years. This week, I was on Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan, talking about being an expert and talking about Facebook and talking about things that are in my ball game. I've been featured in Forbes. I'm a 7-figure business owner, and I still don't feel like an expert. And I still wake up every single day and go, gosh, what if I get it wrong? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I don't know the answer? What if I freeze? You are only going to feel like the expert when you show up consistently as the expert. So today's event, the whole point of it is to take you away from the person who stands in the corner and says, oh God, every morning in front of the mirror, which is what I do. Every morning I wake up, hair is not brushed, makeup is not on, and I go, Jesus Christ, what if one day they find out that you're just Jessica? Right? It's terrifying. And it is terrifying at that time in the morning because, you know, I have often been referred to as a bit of a zombie when I wake up. In fact, my boyfriend likes to say that sometimes he wakes up and he looks at me and he tries not to scream because there are occasions when it looks very, very different to the finished article, right? So what I'm trying to say is that being an expert is not about trying to prove to people with your credentials how good you are. Being an expert doesn't mean that you say you are one. Quite frankly, I hate the effing, and I'm going to say effing because we're in the Ritz, normally it'd just be straight out there. Well, I hate the effing word expert because to me, expert status is not something that somebody needs to tell you that you have. It is something that you show up and it is something that you do every single day. The other thing about being an expert in business is that in order to be an expert, you have to sell. And that's kind of a double-edged sword because who here doesn't like sales? Right? Anyone here hate selling themselves? Ooh. Anyone here hate feeling like they're overcharging, undercharging, trying to convince people to buy? Yeah? We've all been there. The difficulty is that when you're an expert, people expect you to sell. And they expect you to be very good at it. And the thing is that over the years, we've been taught different methods of selling, and generally, they don't fit how we feel in society now. Jen earlier talked about passion, integrity, grit. And typically sales styles over the years have been out of integrity. Cold calling, spam emails, PPI, woohoo, anyone have those? Yeah, I love those things. So what we've learned as a society over the last 100 years is that selling is not good. That it makes you feel sleazy, it makes you feel grimy, gross, icky, out of integrity. And what that means is that when we are stood here as people who say we want to help people, we want to change the world, we want to make an impact, is that we don't want to do the one thing that would help us do all of that. We don't want to sell. But if we don't, just like I was saying to Jo, and I'm sure she won't mind, earlier, if we don't sell, someone who is worse than us will. And they'll win the business. And all that impact that you wanted to make will go to somebody who couldn't do the job anyway. Sucks, right? So when we look at selling, we have to look at who we are as people. And I'm a firm believer that in order to sell in the best way, you need to know how you can identify yourself as a seller. So Jo did all these lovely diagrams. I'm not a diagram person. I don't obviously prepare things. I was too busy trying to find out where the toilet was. And then I went into the toilet and someone came and rattled the door and I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to wee. And you don't need to know that. So we're going to talk about selling styles, okay? And these are the only letters that you ever need to remember when it comes to selling styles. And we're going to look at why we took all the photos earlier. So, the first sales style and the first buying style is aspirational. If you took a photo of me at the front of the room, A, I hope it's a really good one. If I look hot, please tag me in social media. If I don't bother, it's not necessary. And what aspirational selling is it's when you sell from a perspective that you know your audience is going to look up to. You sell from a position of having great results. You sell from a position of a lifestyle that they're looking for, or a specific transformation that they are looking to achieve. And in the coaching and consulting world, we see this a lot, right? How many of you have seen selfies today of people going, living laptop lifestyle with a, laptop, beach, sand, or loving kale with their weird, healthy shakes. Here are the Ritz. Here are the Ritz. I've got about 50 of those. So that's aspirational selling, right? When we do that, what we're saying to other people, what we're putting out into the world is to say, if you do what I do, you can have this too. And that's really powerful. Now, some of us might think, well, actually, I'm not selling my own result. So how can I be aspirational? Well, you can be, simply because sometimes your clients aren't looking at you to be the result that they want. They're looking at your clients. Nobody really cares how much money I make. I've been in sales for 12 years. I'm great at it. So what do you need to know about what I earn and what I do? But if you look at one of my clients like Jen, who's supremely successful, holding an event at the Ritz, launching a book, doing really well, that's interesting. That's aspirational. Do you see what I mean? Okay? So if you are an aspirational seller, you have to start looking at, what do I want to share with people? What is it about the transformation that I have achieved that my clients want to see? And what am I probably not sharing? Because in Britain as well, we do this great thing where we don't boast. And I love that. So I'm like humble pie. My parents were always, when I was small, Jess, it's great that you're smart, but don't say anything. It's really embarrassing. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Noted. And so when I was growing up, what I did was I'd go, oh, I've got this really great idea, but I'm just gonna sit over here with it because nobody will want to hear it. And it wasn't that my parents were bad people, they were great people. They just didn't want me to be a precocious brat who was always like, I've got all these ideas, listen to me. But that's how we've all become. We don't want to share things because we don't want to step above the bar. When we step above the bar, somebody might cut us down. Somebody might say that we're wrong. Somebody might say that we're bragging or that we're boasting or that we're arrogant. The reality is though, if your audience are aspirational buyers, if they are coming to you and they are saying, I want a specific transformation, and you are not showing them that transformation, you're doing them a disservice because you are denying them hope. Okay, you are taking that hope away and you're saying, well, I'm going to have all this great stuff. I'm going to be really confident on stage. I'm going to be great at Facebook Live. I'm going to be all of these things, but I'm not going to show you. And that makes people who are 5 steps behind you think, oh, well, it seems like an impossible journey. How can I have that? If I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't do it. I was thinking that was my phone then. I was like, oh. The second thing you need to think about is emotional selling. Okay, so the selfie you did earlier of your face, that is what we call emotional selling. Now, emotional selling is my least favourite selling style. Everyone's got to have one that they detest, and that is mine. And that's purely because in the online space, we see it used very, very badly most of the time. And we see what I call pimping your pain for profit. We see the warning, vulnerable post, lots and lots of trauma. I was hugely abused, or I was living in a van with my children, I couldn't feed them, but then guess what? I found £10,000 on the street, I invested in a coach, and suddenly I was a multimillionaire. Sometimes I wish my story was like that because it would be much easier for PR, I'm starting to realise. Just throw that one in there. Unfortunately, that's not good emotional selling. What emotional selling does when it's bad is it puts people into trauma all of the time. And your audience can't live in trauma. They can feel sorry for you. People feel sorry for me a lot. I do stupid things and sometimes they're funny and people laugh with me. And sometimes they are funny and emotionally draining. And it causes people to want to reach out to me and they want to message me and say, Jess, I'm sorry you're hurting. But your audience can't live there. And you can't make them buy from that perspective all of the time. Because then what you do is you create a kind of codependent relationship where in order to make a sale, you have to find something really bad so that you can then put in a little PS at the end that says, but if you want to make me feel better, you can buy this thing. And that's not good. Good emotional selling though is like your selfie. It's you showing where you are right now and saying that, yes, something bad may have happened. Something traumatic may have happened in your past. It may be something that you want to share or that you think would be relevant for your audience. But you don't focus on the trauma. You focus on the learning outcomes. Okay? So about, 5 years ago, I had a boyfriend. He was a cretin. It's fine to say his name because, I'm sure he'll never ever find out about this, but his name was Liam. And I'd gone to university, right? And at university I'd fallen madly in love, about 6 months in, as you do. And this guy was the greatest guy I'd ever met. He was going to be a playwright, he had the kind of long hair thing going on. His parents were very what I would affectionately refer to as hippy dippy. You know, they did lots of things I didn't really understand, that like cleansing chakras and things. And as a 20-year-old, I was very confused by this because I wasn't really sure what a chakra was, and I wasn't sure if my boyfriend's dad should be cleaning it, and it was uncomfortable. Okay, it was uncomfortable. So anyway, somehow me and Liam, we struggled through 2 years, and I say struggled, but ostensibly we went on holiday, we did things, we even lived together, and that was tumultuous. And one day at Christmas, I hop over, because Liam lived on the Isle of Wight, so it wasn't easy to get to. But I travel down from university, from London, and I get on the Isle of Wight ferry, and I go into his family Christmas. And it's lovely, and we have presents. And actually that year, I bought Liam an Xbox. Never ever buy your boyfriend an Xbox, okay? So I bought Liam this Xbox, it's all lovely wrapped, and Liam had bought me a wooden heart-shaped necklace.
Oh, wow.
Now I was 21, and I went, oh my God, it's brilliant, he's gonna marry me, because he's given me a heart-shaped wooden necklace, this is great. I have spent all of my hard-earned cash on an Xbox, and I was like supremely chuffed with this wooden necklace. So we sat there over Christmas dinner, and his mum is there, and she's kind of, you know, doing the, here, have the turkey, would you like some gravy? And I say, actually, I'd really love it if you could pass me the potatoes. Oh yeah. And she picks them up and she says, so Jess, what is it like to know that Liam's been cheating on you for the last 6 months? And I went, oh, well, I didn't know, and I'd really like a potato now, please. Now, obviously, the story didn't end well. Like, there was lots of tears and tantrums and things. But needless to say, when I look at that story, right then in the moment, it really hurt. And I remember being sat on the Isle of Wight at the Isle of Wight ferry port, because ferries don't actually run on Christmas Day. So when you are sat there with your wheelie pink suitcase and your massive bottle of wine that your just recent ex's father has bought you, and you're debating, do you drink the entire bottle by yourself to stay warm, or do you just sort of like hug the metal bench? I really debated posting it on Facebook. And I knew that if I did post it on Facebook, there'd be this huge outcry, and I'd get all of these reactions, and all of my friends would be horrified, and then probably kill him somehow. And I didn't really want that to happen, because I was very sad. That's what we see online a lot when it comes to emotional selling. We see the immediate reaction of fear, of trauma, of pain. And actually that's not what your audience respond to. So when we're looking at good emotional selling, we have to look at what the learning outcomes. Now ultimately, Liam is still a cretin. I mean, the guy is not doing well. So I'm sure he really regrets the decision he made in his early 20s. And every so often, do I go onto Facebook and do I have a little stalk? Yeah, absolutely, 100% makes me feel great. But when I look at what he gave me, and when I look at what that story means to me now, he taught me a lot of things about myself. I didn't have any self-confidence. If I had, I probably wouldn't have been over the moon to get a $9.99 heart necklace versus a £300 Xbox. Still bitter. Never got it back. Secondly, he taught me about self-worth, because, but the reason I am bitter about the Xbox is when he said to me, as he was crying his eyes out, I'm not entirely sure why he was crying, but he was crying his eyes out, please don't leave me, would you like your Xbox back? I went, no, because I thought he was going to come back, and he didn't, and he never would have. But my self-worth was at that lower level that I went, no, it's okay, you have that £300 Xbox, and maybe next week you'll decide that actually you sort of want to be with me again instead of her. Worrying, isn't it? How we think about things in the moment. And so when you're selling from an emotional perspective, you have to take a step back. You have to get objective. You have to look at what have I actually learned from this situation, and what do I want other people to understand. So it's not about the pain, it's not about the trauma, it's not about how hilarious you find it 10 years on. It's about looking at what you've learned. And it's about looking at the breakthrough that you've experienced and showing your audience that it is possible for you to get from wherever you are right now and from whatever you are feeling right now to being over here. Where actually it doesn't necessarily hurt any less, but it feels a lot better and you can cope with it now. And there's a way of dealing with things now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And then the third style we have is obviously the third photo, which is all of us. Fear of missing out is a huge thing. And when people see photos of lots of people doing really fun and exciting things, we wish we were there too. And a lot of people online feel like fear of missing out selling is bad because we feel like it manipulates people into doing things that maybe they don't want to do. The reality of good fear of missing out selling is that it's about community. It's about bringing people together. And so a fear of missing out sale is about saying to people, you are all part of a similar peer group. You are all part of a collective. You all feel a similar way. And this is how you can get help together. This is how you can learn together. It's how you can transform together. Or be part of the same club if you're selling products. You know, if you buy Kylie Jenner lipstick, you are part of a gang that I will never be part of because I'm not cool enough or young enough, I've realised. That's what fear of missing out selling is. It's about bringing people together for a common cause, a common learning objective, a common feeling or goal, and it's about letting them experience something together as a shared perspective. So when we look at these things, you might be thinking, well, that's great, Jess, but you know, it's actually not that helpful for me to know whether I'm an aspirational seller or an emotional seller or a fear of missing out. But it is, because it determines what kind of products you will sell. If you're an aspirational seller, it's really easy to sell one-to-one programs. Really easy, because everyone wants to be like you. Okay? It's also easy to sell one-to-one programs with your clients. If they want the result, even if you don't have the result, if all of your other clients do, they want that too. So it becomes easy. It's also very easy to sell e-courses if you're an aspirational seller. And that's mainly because e-courses, the marketing of it really only requires photos and a very good sales page. Let's throw that out there. It really isn't as complicated as most people make it seem. Emotional selling, again, very, very good for one-to-one. It's also very, very good for high-touch programs, masterminds, hybrid coaching, intensives, retreats. Those things are very, very popular with emotional sellers because they help them take them through a journey in a specific space of time. Sometimes it's with other people to build extra relationships because that's what emotional selling really relies on. It's the relationship that you have with your audience and building that. If you can give them something that appeals to a high level, small group of people, they can build relationships with other people too and makes them feel good. And fear of missing out is all about groups, memberships, masterminds that are bigger, group programs, things like today. It's much easier to sell when you have people who are worried about missing out or who are worried about not being part of the club. And it's not to say that we're preying on their vulnerability, because good sales never preys on vulnerability. Good sales is about serving people. It's about understanding why are they buying, what result do they actually want, and with that result, what kind of experience. Because I can tell you that as a buyer, I'm a fear of missing out buyer. Give me a deadline time on anything and I'm like, oh, gotta have it. And it's a problem, a real problem. It means I buy a lot of stuff that I don't need. But in terms of what kinds of programs or courses or things that will make a difference to me, it's aspirational. Because I want one-to-one. I want somebody to look at me as a person and say, this is your problem. This is what you need to do. This is your tailored path. So despite the fact that I might get caught out by all the sales tactics from the fear of missing out crowd, actually that's not what I need to buy. And so when you're selling with integrity, you've got to be looking at what does my audience actually need from me? How can they have the biggest transformation in the shortest time? And that's why you get some people, like Jen, who are premium sellers, because what they need to do is work with people one-to-one or in small groups where you can get personalised attention, where you can work through a big problem or a big issue. And you get people like me who are relatively mid-range. Yeah, I've got premium stuff, But the majority of my business runs on funnels. It's automated. It's things that are practical, that are easy for people to apply on their own to a certain degree. And there are things that we provide that are group-based and that help people network and that give people answers to questions and have like group sessions and things. But in terms of what my audience need, they don't always need a premium sales coach. They need a group of people who can tell them that it's okay not to always be able to sell perfectly, who they can be inspired by and motivated by and understand that even right now, if they're not selling the things they want to sell or if they're not making the money they want to make, it's okay because somebody else is in their group, in their community, in their collective. So it's really important that when you're looking at these things, you're not just looking at how do I buy, because honestly, we don't care. You know, if you're a shoe sale person, great, you're a FOMO buyer. If you're I only like premium and I, spend my money on nice hotels and nice cars, I'm thinking of something else that my friends would probably say that isn't nice, but it goes along that luxury theme, then you're aspirational. And aspirational and emotional can be very, very similar in terms of products, in terms of the way you sell. But aspirational is always focused on the result and emotional is always focused on the learning outcomes. So when you leave today, don't think about what can I sell, think about what does my audience need and how is the best way for me to deliver that to them. And then you know your selling style and you know what you're going to do. That's it.
Here I am. Well done, Jess. I said well done. Well, yeah, well done. Well done, you pal.
Thank you.
No, honestly, absolutely brilliant, brilliant. Like I said, I told you we're in for something, and to be honest, I listened to Jess. Honestly, because you just so many different lives and whatever else. And I think you think you've done like well over 800 hours worth of lives, right? I reckon I've probably sat through at least 600, and I'm still learning stuff every time I listen to this lady. She's absolutely wonderful.